Hey everybody, Jam Creates here. It is Friday, so it is time to head into the weekend. Heading into Christmas coming up on Tuesday, Christmas Eve on Monday. I'll be trying to get some more videos out still, so don't worry. I won't leave you hanging. Maybe a little bit, we'll see. I'm working on Christmas Eve anyway, so I'll probably do a video. If I don't get one done over the weekend to put in, I'll do one maybe that night on the way home from work. Anyway, I am driving home from work. That's why you hear my turn signal. What I want to talk about today is I want to kind of piggyback off of what I was talking about yesterday. Yesterday I was talking about TKO, which is a new comic book company that's trying a different method of putting things out. But I wanted to talk about, piggyback off of that in a way, but also talk about something else. What I really want to talk about is the business of comics now, and in a larger spectrum, the business of entertainment now as well. What I think a lot of people are, maybe some of them are starting to realize and are starting to understand, is that the model for entertainment has changed and continues to change, and it has been evolving and changing for years now, but it continues to do so. And some industries have evolved much more quickly than others. Some are catching up, some are changing, some are adapting to similar topics. It's an interesting thing, just from an outsider's perspective, to just look at as a whole and kind of understand and see how sometimes you can be this big company and sometimes it's not an asset. And what I mean is, let's historically, let's go back in time for a minute here. Okay, so we're back in time now, and television has just begun, and there's 3 networks. And for years and years and years, there's only 3 networks. So you don't really have a lot of choice of what you're going to watch. So everybody pretty much watches the same stuff. There's a couple different choices, but certain things are just absolutely everybody knows about because there's not a lot of choices out there. And so the minimal choices means that things are in the public eye. They're in the public consciousness way more. They're just out there and everybody knows about it. Who shot JR? Luke and Laura's wedding. Things like that are things that even today you can mention and a lot of people know what they mean. And it's simply because there just really wasn't a lot of alternatives. You just couldn't escape it. Even if you didn't watch it, that's fine. Maybe you weren't into those particular shows, but you still knew what that meant. You couldn't avoid it. And over time, eventually there were more networks, and then cable started, and suddenly you're where we are now, where there is an alphabet soup of television networks on cable and on satellite and on regular broadcast TV, that even the most popular shows on television don't draw anything like the numbers that shows drew when there were way less things to choose from. And now add to that internet, Netflix, streaming services, Amazon, everything, all that stuff, DVDs, if people are still watching DVDs, you add all these other things to it, video games, everything else. There are so many things that are competing for people's time that there are people out there who just simply don't even watch television. Their entertainment is taken up entirely by internet and video games and things like that. And so they just don't even watch TV. So you can quote something to them and they're not going to have a clue what you're talking about. Years ago, you could quote Seinfeld and pretty much everybody knew it was a Seinfeld quote. Even if they didn't watch the show, they might have some idea of where it came from. That's not really the case anymore. Nowadays, it's really, everything has become so specialized that, you really have to understand you're not going to be that thing that everyone in the world is talking about and that everyone in the world is watching. Those things are not really just non-existent. I mean, once in a while, something breaks through and becomes a real big part of the cultural consciousness. Things like, Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead. And, these things become ubiquitous. Everybody knows what they are. But even them, if you mention a character or a plot line or a line of dialogue, there's going to be a lot of people out there who have no idea what you're talking about. Regardless of how popular these things might seem like they are, they're not as big as the stuff that used to be out there when there was much less choices. And I think a similar thing is starting to happen with, it's certainly happened with music, let's be honest. Nobody buys music anymore. Everyone just streams music from some service or another. There is no, people don't listen to the radio anymore. Obviously, yes, people do when they're in their cars or whatever. If they have satellite radio, they listen to that. Or otherwise, you're stuck listening to terrestrial radio. Or you're just using your phone and streaming your music through your speakers in your car. Otherwise you're streaming from Spotify or Pandora or YouTube or whatever. It's just a very different world. To be successful in the music industry now, you had to adapt and change. People can be very successful in the music world now without even having a major record deal. It's just the world has changed and the business has changed. And those giant record companies really had to learn to adapt or they died along the way. And you can be very successful as a small indie label if you know how to do things properly. You've got to run your business properly. Your expenditures cannot be outrageous. The days of these giant press, blasts and, blitzing the press and the radio and television and music videos and all that other stuff to make an artist successful, that doesn't really exist anymore. MTV doesn't play music videos. You want to see music videos, you go to YouTube. And I'm sure YouTube has got some kind of thing where they're promoting people's music videos on YouTube. Let's not be foolish. There's money exchanging hands there. I'm sure there is. Hell, I went to watch videos on YouTube and had a music video play as an ad before the video I wanted to watch. All I want to do is see, a dog riding a surfboard, and then suddenly some music video comes on, and it's like a 3.5 minute music video. I'm like, yeah, skip. Thank you. Take me to the surfing dog, please. But they paid money for that. That's the only way. They're just grasping at straws of how to make an artist popular. And that's part of the throes and the fits and starts that happen in an industry that's in flux. And you're seeing that now, I think, in the comic book industry. The big two have always had the ability to advertise their new products within their existing products, and the fan base will follow along. But now, that's not really going to work so much because the audience has shrunk. So you're advertising to a smaller audience, trying to break out one of the big two into the wider field of view is very difficult. Tell me how many times you see commercials on television for a new comic book. You don't. You did see that back in the 90s when comic books were selling millions of copies. You don't see that now because it doesn't exist. The big two are having fits and starts. They're trying digital things, but they don't want to commit too much to a digital platform. They're worried about piracy. They're worried about, I don't know what else they're worried about, honestly. They're worried. I guess they're worried about pissing off the retailers, but the retailers are already pissed off because they can't sell the stuff that you're sending them anyway. And now you've got things like TKO who are trying this binge reading idea, which is an interesting idea. You've also got companies like Alterna who have figured out, hey, guess what? We can cut the price by printing on newsprint, and our comic books can sell for $1.50 each, which makes them way easier to buy, way more of an impulse buy for people, and especially for kids who can afford to buy these books. So they publish all ages titles, and they publish other titles for $1.50, and you can buy that. You're not going to think twice about dropping $1.50 on that. And now they've started selling them digitally on their own store for 99 cents. So that's even cheaper. And that's fantastic. I also now, Shonen Jump, Viz Media, who owns Shonen Jump, the big, they're the bigger company behind all that. Now their stuff is free, literally free. The new chapters come out and they are free to read. If you want to read the old stuff, it's $2 a month. $2 a month. That's $24 a year. $2 a month, and you could read over 10,000 chapters of manga for free. That's ridiculous. That is a new business model. That is something that clearly is going to succeed. I bought in. I'm in. I'm a subscriber. I just started reading My Hero Academia, and I'll probably do a video about it at some point. I'll maybe do some kind of video series exploring my my re-exploration into the world of manga, because I wouldn't want to say just exploration, because I've been in it before. I just got out of it for a while, and now I'm back, and I'm definitely back for $2 a month. Heck yeah, I'm back. You kidding me? People keep asking me if I'm back. Oh, I'm thinking I'm back. Again, that's a quote from something. Not everyone's going to know what that's a quote from. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. If you know, let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting to see how many people actually know what that quote's from. Anyway, so what I'm seeing is all these different models. And what I'm also seeing is, and what we're going to see in the future is, which one of these companies or which ones of these companies understand where we're at now. There's no one big thing that's going to rule everything anymore. It's just not going to be that way. It's just not. The comic book industry will not be that way. If we ever see a book that sells as well as X-Men #1 again, I would be shocked. Absolutely shocked if we ever saw something sell that well again. What we are going to see is we're going to see crowd-funded comics that do exceptionally well. We're also going to see crowd-funded comics that do okay. But they do okay enough that the creator can make a profit, publish their book, and get their book out there, and they'll start to develop their own loyal following of fans, and they'll be successful enough to keep doing it. And they will be successful because they will have budgeted accordingly. And that's the real key. You have to budget accordingly. You have to be a good businessman. You have to. You have to be able to understand that, hey, I can't blow a ton of money on this expecting to make it all back, because I probably won't. But what I can do is smartly apply what I've got, promote to the people I've got, interested in my stuff, and, be successful enough to have my own little corner of the comic book world. And that's where these other ones are going to be successful, is if they're able to collect a little corner of the comic book world for themselves, where they have their fans, and they can continue to put out their good stories and put out their books and make their money, and it's enough to keep it rolling and keep it going. And that's where I see things like Alterna being successful, and possibly TKO. Again, I said TKO's biggest concern is going to be if they can maintain the quality, because asking people to buy in at $24 is a big ask if the quality is in question. If people can say, I know these guys, I know they're going to do quality work, they always do quality work, I'm in, well, then they'll be successful. They can be successful if they do that. And I think it's all going to come down to what they're able to do. And it's the same thing with the crowdfunded books. If you crowdfund a book and your book is amazing, and then you go to crowdfund another one, guess what? Those people who backed your first one are going to be there for the next one. If the first one was amazing, they're going to be there for the next one. And they might even bring more people along, and you'll slowly grow an audience. And hopefully you'll continue to grow your audience that way. There is going to be a cap, of course. Every one of these audiences is going to have a cap where they're just not going to get any further. And that's fine. Again, you no longer are going to do the numbers. A hugely successful show on cable, if you compare those numbers to a successful network show from back in the 80s, it would be laughable, the comparison. Like, I would love to see a comparison of what the number of viewers something like, let's say, the A-Team or Knight Rider had back in the day compared to, let's say, like a Game of Thrones or American Horror Story or some other cable success. It would really be interesting to see, because I bet you that the A-Team and Knight Rider would blow those things out of the water. I bet even if you go back to the old, what's the word? Syndicated shows like Hercules and Xena and Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5, those shows probably blow these things out of the water in terms of viewership. However, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant, because they had to compete in the market of the time. These shows now need to compete in the market of now. Just like the comic books now are not competing with X-Men #1. They're not competing with that. They're competing with the other stuff that's around now. And so everyone can kind of have their own little thing. I mean, webcomics are incredibly successful as a whole, as a business, for things like Line. I don't know if Tapas is really making a ton of money. I do like Tapas's interface, and I like their app, and I like what they have there. And I like their community, actually. Their forums and stuff seem to be way more engaging. But the business as a whole, webcomics as a whole, are successful. So you've got to find your niche, you've got to find where you belong, you've got to find your thing, and you've got to make it work for you. You're not going to make them, like, let's take movies, for example. You're not going to, blow a budget, or even just stick with comic books, it's fine. You're not going to blow your budget on, like, an insane, huge budgeted book where you're paying, like an insane page rate for your artist and your writer and your color and your letterer and all that stuff. Like, you're not going to do that, and then you're expecting to, and in reality, you're going to sell, like, a couple hundred copies. Like, obviously, that's just not sustainable. But if you're just one dude who's making a comic book, and you're doing everything yourself, you're doing the writing, the art, the coloring, the art, the lettering, and you're doing it all by yourself, well, then, you know what? Like, a couple of thousand copies, like, couple hundred copies, 1,000 copies, whatever, you might be okay. You might be able to just to get by on that, because maybe you just did it all yourself, and you're not really too worried about your own page rate. Really, you're more concerned with simply getting the book out and, doing the work yourself and just getting it out there and telling your story. So it's possible. You've got to find where you belong, and you've got to get your business plan straight. And if you can do that, I think you can be successful in this current era. I just don't think we're going to see that where one thing rules everything. So anyway, let me know what you think about the business of funny books, and, if you think we are in this now world where everything is going to be a niche thing and can be successful as a niche title, because it's going to have to be, because there is no overarching success that's going to just blow everything out of the water and sell millions of copies anymore. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think TKO is the way to go? Do you think Alterna's got a better model? Do you think crowdfunding is the wave of the future? What do you think? Let me know what you think about all this. Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, please. Give me, jingle that bell for notifications in the spirit of the holidays. Jingle bells, baby. Here's another quote for you. Jingle bells, Frank. I guarantee you nobody's going to know what that quote is from. If you do, I would be shocked if you knew what that quote was from, and that would be really freaking amazing. And if you could tell me what show it's from, I'd really be amazed. So anyway, that's it for the show, for this episode, for this video. I will talk to you soon. Everybody, if you don't listen to my other videos or whatever happens, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll be putting up videos, so, I'll still be here. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace on earth, baby. And I'm out.